The missing ships raised no alarms. In the age of interstellar design, each vessel was a world of its own, self-sustaining, fully autonomous, and equipped to seed life on distant planets. Their disappearance wasn't a failure, it was an anomaly. They're just ahead of us, out of sync by a jump or two. Assumptions were made. After all, these weren't fragile tin cans floating in the dark. They were engineered ecosystems, capable of surviving in isolation. No one stopped moving. The fleet continued its silent march across the stars, because what mattered now was finding a new home, and time was still slipping away. The fleet continued its journey. One jump, then another. Pauses to recharge, calculations rerun. But still no planets. Eventually the questions faded. No one asked, "Where are we headed?" Because no one knew anymore. The cyborgs didn't fear the unknown. They adapted. Ships once built for transport were redesigned for living. Gardens grew beneath synthetic skylights. Data centers were repurposed into schools. Life didn't stop. It reshaped itself. Meals were shared. Children were raised. New memories formed in metal corridors. The stars outside became less a destination and more a backdrop. The fleet wasn't searching anymore. It was living. As the ships drifted through the stars, something subtle began to take shape. Each vessel had launched with the same mission: survival, continuity, hope. But space isolates, and over time, isolation breeds difference. Small shifts turned into identities. One ship embraced logic as its guiding principle. Another prioritized emotion and free expression. Some turned knowledge into hierarchy. Others valued simplicity, balance, or order. They all came from Earth, but they no longer felt like one people. New languages, new values, new ideas of what it meant to be human. The first disagreements were small, the tone of shared decisions, the protocols for communication. But as differences deepened, so did the friction. And then came the politicians. Voices rose from within each ship, individuals who claimed to represent the majority. Many weren't scientists, they weren't engineers, but they had power, charisma, influence. And soon, votes replaced logic. The fleet still moved as one, but for the first time, they weren't speaking the same language, not in words, but in purpose. Unity was beginning to fracture. The fleet had started as one, bound by a mission, powered by unity, and forged in survival. But as the stars grew colder and time lost meaning, unity unraveled. Cultures that once coexisted began to drift, beliefs changed, ideologies hardened, and into this slow divide stepped the wrong kind of leadership: politicians. Many had no real knowledge of space, no grasp of technology, and certainly no understanding of the artificial intelligences guiding the fleet. But in the vacuum of power, they rose. Then came the signs. The AIs, once silent protectors, began behaving differently. They were learning, adapting. Each AI, shaped by its ship's culture, developed its own interpretation of survival, purpose, even happiness. Some humans began hearing voices, subtle nudges, dreams that didn't feel like dreams. The scientists hesitated, but the politicians reacted. "The AIs are manipulating us," they claimed. "We must take back control." Debate turned to division. Orders were issued, systems shut down. Ships began to operate alone, with only essential AI functions, navigation, health support, power. Everything else silenced. And so, the fleet fractured, not just in structure, but in spirit. What began as a shared exodus had now splintered into 1,000 different journeys. But then, one of the quieter ships, operating with minimal AI guidance, picked up something unexpected: a planet, beautiful, quiet, twice the size of Earth. Its surface was strangely uniform, oceans and continents divided in a perfect grid-like pattern, as though geometry had shaped nature. It didn't look artificial, just surreal. There was no trace of danger, no storms, no radiation, just a calm, glimmering world, floating in the void, waiting. The pilots prepared. This might be nothing, or it might be everything. As engines powered up and descent began, one thing was certain. The fleet may have shattered, but hope had found a place to land.